Hello guys, once again and welcome back to the channel. I am International Master Minh here, and I'm so sorry that I can only be able to do the recap of my tournament right now. So as you may know, I just got the final GM norm in the beginning of July, right? So I just back home and there are like some very busy works. So now I have time for the recaps that I promised to do earlier, and obviously I will really try my best to make things I think instructive, and you guys can really understand what's going on in the game. So first of all, it is actually pretty hard to do on 18 games, right? So my plan is just, I think, trying to make probably some interesting games, some games I think are instructive, or some games that really important for two events. So as you guys know earlier, I play in the two events in the US, the Philadelphia International, which starts from June 24th to June 28th, and another one is the World Open, the bigger one, that started from June 30 to July 4th, and that is the event where I get the norm, right? So I will try my best to cover both like games I think that are interesting in the two events, and trying to make some recaps here. Obviously it is not so early right now to make these things, like it is nearly a month away, right? But okay, I guess I will. I'm still memorizing some of the details. I still remember like what did I think during the process. So probably it's still gonna be good, and I think I can still trying to make it fun and at least something instructive enough. So in this one here, so this is the first game of the first event, the Philly International. So for the first game here, so actually there was, I think, an incident. The round should start, yeah, I think the round should start at around like 7 p.m., but I think at around like 6:55, so there came, I think, like a wrong fire alarm. Yes, like a phone's fire alarm. I think, well, if I was not mistaken, if I remember correctly, so I just packed the chassis and prepared to get to the playing hall, and then all of a sudden I heard from you know above me, funnily enough, that there was like, I think there was the fire alarm, so please stay at home, do not use the elevator, and please trying to evacuate through the emergency exit. I was staying in the 22nd floor. Evacuating is not easy, and especially my mother, she didn't know any English, which makes things a little bit tricky. So we need to stay in the room for like 15 minutes. Luckily things are fine, but well, in general that was a little bit scary. I can tell you, not a very fun begin to such a wonderful event. But whatever, the game still starts, and the event starts as well. And let's go to the game. So in the first game, I met, I think, a very talented kid in the US, Oberoi Shilef. He was like 2176, but I believe that he should be very, very young, like 13 to 14 years old. Probably younger, I forget. I think after the two events in the US, now he should be like somewhere 22, 30 or 40, whatever. But he is a very talented kid. Due to the, I think, format there, they will only give us the pairings like 30 minutes or sometimes like 20 minutes before the round. So I was not able to prepare a lot. Luckily, I still got him in my prep, and I think make the first game become somewhat, I think, not that hard for me. Let's go into detail here. So in the game, I play d4, he play d5, I play c4. People call this one the Queen's Gambit, and he takes on c4, which is the accepted variation. So when I look at his games, I knew that he always tries this kind of thing. So I have prepared a little bit of surprise for him. e3, I tried this O as variation. Apparently, this lie doesn't seem to bring white a lot of initiatives. Black can play plenty of things here. He can play c5, he can play knight f6, he can play e6. He can play plenty of things. But when I look at his game, I already know that he will not play these steps. In the game, he tried e5. A very famous lie, but I have something, I would say that, surprised him in the game. Bishop c4, takes the pawn, ed4, ed4. So I got the isolated pawn in the center, right? But to compensate for that here, so we got some development. The bishop feels pretty good here as well, and this pawn on d4 actually gives me a strong square on a5, which I think is a good square to occupy, right? In the game, so bishop d6 was played by him, knight f3, knight f6, castles. Once again here, so white has several ways to play. Knight c3 can be tried here. This one, h3 to prevent bishop g4 by him, e1. But in the game, I decided to go for a pretty tricky variation since I prepared this line. Bishop g5, this one. So here I pin the knight right away and force him to decide how to, get rid of this annoying pin. He can play plenty of steps. Bishop g4 here can be a way to play, but I can play h3, this one for instance, right? h3 here, and bishop h5, I can play even like g4 here, and knight e5. And somehow, although it looks a bit risky, white can be, I think, pretty happy since he got a strong knight in the center, and also this pin is actually pretty annoying. f4 can be considered as well, knight c3 as well, and I believe it should be okay for white, although the engine doesn't seem to be agree with it. In the game, he tried knight c6, put pressure on my pawn on d4, h3, stop his bishop g4 ideas. This move I think is fairly important since without this move, so he can pin you and this pawn on d4 can be a real target. h6, h4. So I look at this lie myself at home, and I knew that here, so he will need to make a tough decision. If I remember correctly, so here he thought for like I think 20 minutes and he played g5, which actually was the correct move. The thing here is that if he tries something slower like rook e8 here, or like bishop f5, I can just simply play knight c3, and then I can play like queen d2, rook e1, rook d1 here. And a thing for him is that it will be not easy to get out of the pin, right? And that thing helps me to develop easier, and I can slowly trying to canvas into the good squares and trying to occupy some outposts or some square that I can try and put pressure on him. In the game, he plays g5. This one surprisingly is the main line. He trying to chase my bishop away, close the pin, but as you can see here, so it somehow weakens his king, right? So we need to deal with it. Here I cannot take on g5 since I don't have enough material to go for this. You can just take here and it will king g7, which defend a knight here, and after that rook e8 whatever, I don't know. I think black can also try something like bishop e7 as well, which make things pretty safe. But as you can see in the engine evaluation, right, this doesn't seem to be good. So in the game, g3 back home, trades. At first sight, so it seems to weaken the pawn structure, right, for white. But somehow here, as you can see, so we got the F file open, and we can try and put pressure there. We can even think about like G4 later that fix the black pawn structures, and make G5 somewhere that you can try to even sacrificing on that. In the game, he played accurately G4, takes, and he pinned our knight, which obviously make our pawn on D4 a weakness. But I'm still following my preparation, and I just keep blitzing out knight C3. A thing here that actually is pretty important to know here is that somehow it is not it's not possible for him to go for the knight to F3. Knight D4 obviously is wrong, right? We just go Queen D4 and we just up a piece, and this one to take the pawn on D4 sadly is incorrect, since we just simply I think can play rook to F3 here, and obviously Queen D4 is not working since the knight here is hanging. And knight D4, just I think we can draw F4 now. Attack both the knight, right? If the knight runs, so we just take on D8 and take the knight here for free. So C5 is got a forcing, and now we can play plenty of stuff. Queen F1 for instance, putting pressure on him, right? We can even try to consider Queen D3 as well, and we'll play AF1 here, and like we can even think about Queen G6 with a strong pin, right? Apparently, we're not going to play Queen D2, which runs into knight F3, and this is gonna be a discover check, which looks obviously ridiculous. In the game, he saw the thing and he played Queen D6. Attack our pawn on G3, and this one actually was the second line by the engine. Queen D2 is what I play here, and instead of defending the pawn, I go for the pawn on H6, which is a weakness, and this is still my prep. If you take the pawn here, I would just play Queen H6, and he is in trouble. You can see the engine think that this is just winning for white. Now, so the knight here is hanging, the king here is in big trouble. Also, we can check here, with help with the pin, right? Knight G5 can also be considered, and thing here, I believe, just completely winning for white. In the game, so King G7 was right, Knight H2. I am still blitzing out here. I believe at this point, I think I even got like 2 minutes more than, like the time the game start. So now the plan is to go for Rook F6, right? Trying to eliminate the knight on F6, and that makes the bishop here weaken. Also, a thing here I can even tell you is that white actually is even threatening something very annoying. Like for instance, rook E8, right? Here, so in a line I get rook F6, but that is apparently not the best. This one I think is fine. Queen here on G4, right? Takes here, takes and then knight 3, and white has to manifest for the rook, which is probably fine. But in fact, white can play something much stronger with knight B5, I think. And this one is very, very strong, since it attacks both the queen and defend the pawn, right? So now Queen A7, like Rook A1 here, or you can even play here as well. And all of a sudden, his pieces seems quite hanging, and we can just, go for plenty of things here. So in the game, he tried A6, which, due to the engine, is not a good move. But I think it's easy for him here. He must play Bishop D7, which is the main line. But here, so white I think can still obtain a fairly playable. Actually, I think better position with Rook F4, defend the pawn, right? And Rook F1 here next. And white just slowly pushing in the F file where the king is weak. And also he can think about swinging to Rook H4 later. And I believe that white is just quite happy here to play these positions. So in the game, he played A6, and the engine believes this is not a correct move. Rook F6 here is playable, but as I mentioned earlier, black can still play here, and Queen D4. I'm pretty sure that this is better for white, but in the game, so I just want to look for something more. I played Rook F4. Well, apparently now I'm out of prep. My prep is Bishop D7, Rook F4, and then Rook F1 here. I cannot prep for so long, as I mentioned earlier. So my trap just runs to this place, but in the game, so he just didn't see the things. He played a6, f4. Other thing you guys must know is that this is already not easy. Somehow here, his king looks pretty weak, right? And the plan of white seems pretty straightforward, and that makes things not easy at all for black to defend here. So that's the reason why I just make some slightly inaccurate move, since somehow I think here, if you don't have any kind of prep for this thing, black seems to be in trouble. So now we attack the knight bishop on g4, right? And black must be very, very careful. If you play something like h5 here, sort of f1, and I think you can just basically resign now, since if the knight runs, so the pawn here drops, and if he doesn't run the knight, so we can just take here, and we up material, his king is just very exposed. If you try something like bishop to e6, I think we can just try a very fun, sacrifice. This one, I think so. f6. If you play king here, we're gonna knight e4 with a fork, right? And then we can play here next as well. So I believe he should try the queen d4 with takes, and f4 here, and I think white just finished with a piece up. I'm pretty sure in the game, so what I consider, I think mainly is that he plays h5, this one, to defend the pawn here, but I can just play rook f1, right? Rook f1 here, and the knight run away, so I can play g4, I can play knight e4, I can play whatever, and obviously here, so white just seems to obtain a real edge, right? Rook h4 also seems like nothing as well. In the game, he defended tactically knight e5. He defended bishop on g4, also he attached this bishop on c4 as well. Obviously take here is impossible since the queen is hanging on d2. But I think at this point here, so he should only have around 20 or 25 minutes left, while I'm still having 1 hour and 20 minutes around that thing. Bishop e3, just run back the bishops, and the plan just here and all the things. Bishop h5, f1, understandable. d7. So here in the game, I spent I think 20 minutes. I couldn't find the best way to continue somehow, but I can tell that it's not easy. When I saw engine light, I was like, at first I don't understand what's going on, but the line was pretty interesting, so I will show you guys. The move here is h4, this one. So now we put pressure on the h file, and the threat here is g4. If we just, play for instance here, right? So g4, attack the bishop, and with the bishop runs, we'll get queen to h6, right? Which obviously is a mate. So queen g3 is kind of forcing, and white calmly bring another rook to the game, rook f4. And the threat here, as you can see in the arrows, is rook h5. So for instance, rook here, right? Rook h5, takes on h5, got rook g4 and win material. Queen a1 is not working since we just play here, and f2, and once again white is a piece up. So this one, I believe that white just obtained a very strong attack. The best defense here for black is queen g5, but I'm pretty sure white has a very strong engine moves, bishop d1. Threats the bishop and somehow weaken the king even more. But apparently I missed one of these ideas. In a game, I spent 20 moves, but I just play knight 3. Somehow I think a safe move, but I will say pretty natural and straightforward, right? So knight 4, knight 5 is my ideas. I just want to bring my knight from somewhere that is not doing anything currently to somewhere that can, make devastating effect. My knight h2 has been doing wonderful to me, but now time to move it away. In the game, I just feel like that. Rook e8, knight 4, bishop g6. Here, bring the bishop here and ready to trade my knight on f5. I consider plenty of things here, but sadly things not even clear. I think at this part of the game I'm just getting a little bit out of the way. I just don't see things well now. I don't even know what's the best way to play for white here. I consider like g4, queen f2, plenty of things in the game, but nothing seems to be clear. In the game I play queen f2. So what I decided to do is that, like, I'm up on time, right? So if we cannot find something so special to do, we can just exert more pressure on him and, you know, force him to be more passive, or at least, I mean, make things hard for him to just defend, right? Queen e7. So black want to play queen e3 right here, but it is apparently not easy. So here I think the best thing to do here for white, I think the engine suggests knight e5 here, exchange a knight on f6 here, here, and here this way, and then the pawn f7 will be a huge target to attack. But in the game here, so once again, I'm up on time, right? So I just want to make things simpler. I mean, instead of trying to go for something tricky, I want to make it safe. Case 1 is what I try. Queen e3, apparently now it's not working since we just play here, and this is just winning, right? So in the game he plays c6. He stopped my idea at once. So once again, I don't have knight e5 anymore. So I need to come up with some other plans. So I play bishop c2, this one. I trying to like attack the bishop on g6 here as well, and have some plans here. I mean, for instance, if you play like, let's say b5, right? I can just even think about like bishop to f5, or I may even play here, queen c2, but apparently you can play queen f7, right? When thing is not that clear. So you can see, right? It's not even easy, but at least I think I can have some, like, I think, pressure on him. In a game, so he tried knight e7, which is a fun way to defend. Understandable as well, since he wants to block the g file. Also he wants to defend f7 as well. In the game here, so I spent another, I think, 20 minutes. At this point I should have around like 25 to 30 minutes, while he only had like, I think, 10 minutes or even lower. Let's see the slide of g4, which put pressure on him right away. So knight g5 forcing, right? Knight f5 takes. So the threat is made on h7. If you play here, so we just stay here, right? And this is obviously winning on the spot. So he played rook h8 by forks to defend the rook here. Knight e4, queen e6. I mean, this is on what I concluded in the game. Queen f4, f5. I saw all of this, and I can tell you that after knight g5 here, takes here, and I stop the line. I think it's not good for me, since both of my queen and my rook are hanging, right? But when I checked with the engine later at home, I surprisingly figured out that king g1 here just winning for white. All of a sudden, although both of our pieces here are hanging, they cannot take anything. g4 is impossible, and take here is also lead to mate right away. So I mean, somehow both of the pawns seems hanging, right? And things just looking winning for us instantly. So in a game I just miscalculate things and I try bishop f5. I just want to provoke him. I mean, take here and knight f5 obviously, and also I just want to play queen c2 next. The thing that he missed in the game, knight b6 and queen c2, this one. I want to put pressure on here, and he missed my ideas. I'm pretty sure here he can try something else. I believe that in the game I forget what I trying to think about here. I believe I think about like knight df6 here, and then play here, and then queen c2. I don't know, like here, and like d5. I believe some. I don't know. I think this should be what. No, it shouldn't be this one. Forget it for sure. But I'm pretty sure here. So I did consider something else, which is not easy, right? I mean, I don't even know, but I mean, I think I'm still fine here since we got some initiatives in the f file, but I don't see a clear way to finish. Maybe you can play like knight e4, I don't know, but I guess things start looking easy. So in the game he blundered with knight b6. Lucky me. Queen c2. And now there's extreme pressure on the bishops. He can attack here, right? As always, queen g5 in the game, defend the bishop and also putting pressure on my g3 pawn. But here, I just exploited his blunder earlier by playing queen b3. Yes. This is what the engine don't like, I'm pretty sure. I don't know what the best line here. I think the engine just love like knight e4 this one and win material this one. I think like in the game here I also did calculate this, but I think I should play rook e4, bishop e4 here, and like slowly I can try and win things here on the g file, on the f file. But I just decided to play simpler and I go for the b pawn. In the game it turns out to be working well, but maybe I don't know, maybe I'm just not playing that well in the game. d5 takes, and b7. So now I pin him in the 7th rank and it doesn't look easy anymore. Rook e7, take another pawn, I just get greedy and I don't see why not. Knight f6, he bring the knight to attack my queen, queen d6, attack his rook as well in the other way. And it's the, I mean like also I set up a small trap. If you play rook here, defend the rook, I got bishop g6 and you can see I got strong pressure in the f file, right? So now in the game rook e3 was tried, I just takes and knight f3. A very simple play here by me. I bring the knight back home and now lead it to e5. Queen g3, win a pawn by him, just still not working since I can play rook f6, right? And with the discover attack, I just win another mana piece. In the game, queen h5, king g1, g5. He bring the queen back home, but here I'm pretty sure it's just over. White is up 2 pawns, and the attack still continues. Rook f5, queen e8, knight e5. And now you can see here that it is just over. The pressure on the f file now prevails, and there are basically no defense. Knight f7 in the game, I can take here right away. In the game, I just play something I think more brutal. f7 here, f7 and queen g6, and black resign instantly. I mean king h7, so knight f7, right? And king here to f7 just made it, so I mean the resignation comes in time, I believe. So that's the game. I mean, you know, luckily for me that even though I suffer, you know, from I think not a wonderful surprise before the game happened, I still can catch him with my preparation and it still works out well. Apparently, as you can see here, my play was not perfect, right? Somehow I still make mistakes. I think make things harder for me in the conversion. I can convert it better, I can try to win cleaner and smoother as well. But I guess in the game I just opt for a very, I think, simple way to win. I was up on time, so I decided to slowly put more pressure on him in his king side and in his f file and in his clock as well. And at the end of the day, he stumbles. So this one is my first recap of the both 2 events for me. I think there will be some more videos coming later about some other games. In general, I think I made some mistakes in the grammar, so I'm very sorry for that. But I really wish you guys enjoy the videos and somehow understand what happened in the game. So see you later. Thank you and peace.